Ooh,
Oh,
it's intimidating.
if there were said safe words, what would it be?
I don't know, man. Probably Larry Roundtree or something like that. I'd be like, I just instantly got soft when you said Larry Roundtree, so it's over anyway.
Fuck.
Well, that's the intro.
Oh, we're recording. Great.
Damn right. And welcome back.
Cheers.
We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience. Together, we're on a mission of Dynasty domination.
Yes, and the mission is on schedule.
Yep, and it's not impossible. Can I do that joke two episodes in a row?
You can do it
It's
8
not
episodes in a row if
for
you
you to
want.
do it as many times as you want.
Okay, Tom Cruise.
You know what they
joke.
did? They went ahead and just kept making Mission Impossibles. So
That's true.
just
I
don't
can-
let
So
yours
can we.
gradually become a dumpster fire like
I-
they did. All right.
Well, that's what we do, baby.
Right. The dumpster's already burning. You know, it's just a dumpster heater at this point.
Boom, baby. Well, here we are, guys. We're back. The part 4 of round of 32. We're on to the red brackets. So I'm going to kick it on over to you guys to discuss the Rookie Madness bracket and our pull out my little violin for past losers.
All right, yeah. So this is the last round of 32. So this is the last recap of the round of 36. So naturally, this is what we're gonna do next week. We're gonna do Sweet 16, and we'll recap the losers from round of 32. But that's not what we're doing right now. We're doing the red bracket, round 2.
There we are.
Round of 32. Woo! So in the round of 64, we lost a couple of guys. Chris Rodriguez Jr., running back, Kentucky, didn't make it. Michael Wilson, wide receiver, Stanford, didn't make it. Deuce Vaughn,
Rip.
yep. Wildcat, Kansas State running back, did not make it. Jaron Hall, BYU quarterback, did not make it. I knew this was going to happen. Luke Schoonmaker, a tight end from a school, did not make it. Where's it from?
Oh, no.
Iowa.
Hang on. I'll get it for you.
And then we had,
Michigan?
yeah, I think he was Michigan.
It is Michigan, I think. Yeah, hang on.
Big 10, same deal.
Well, don't hang on. You can keep talking. But
Okay. And then we had
Michigan.
Nice. Yeah. Let's see. Yoshi Voss, Andreas Yoshi Voss, wide receiver. And that was
All right, look me in the eye and spell it.
no. He was from Princeton, yeah, Ivy League. So yeah, and then a handful of bye weeks did not make it. So now we're down. We're slimming the red bracket down to 8 players. We'll discuss those matchups and get it down to 4, man.
Yeah. So let's just go ahead and start. So we got the first matchup. We got our 1 seed going up against our 8 seed. The 1 seed being Bryce Young, and the 8 seed being Rashee Rice. Bryce and Rice. Who wins? It's got to be Bryce, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, man.
Right.
Oh, you Rice. Right.
That's right.
I do want to say Rashee Rice is, I think, moving up my boards a little bit the more we dig into this stuff, man. Wide receiver out of SMU, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, 22.9 years old, so basically 23 years old. 96 catches last year, 1,355 yards, 14 yards per reception and 10 touchdowns. Ran a 4.51 40, which puts him in the 63rd percentile, 57th percentile for speed, so not that quick, but holy cow on the burst, 95th percentile on the burst score for Rashee Rice, jumping out of his shoes at the combine.
Dang.
I like him, man. Can stop on a dime, and that burst score shows you how quickly he can pick it up. He has an elite ability to change direction, and I think it helps him a lot in the open field. And he's taller, for this class already, but then he has 32-inch arms, which makes him a little bit taller too, because that's on the higher, or a little slightly on the higher end. Obviously, on Wednesday we talked about a guy that had 33, almost 34-inch arms, so he's not quite that long, but it's pretty long. And with that acceleration and stop start ability, he's able to like switch up his speed and kind of confuse defenders a lot of times, and it's pretty fun to watch. Now he's not perfect, obviously. He's not super physical. He can get a little bit of bullied, which didn't show up on the stat sheet. 16 contested catches is pretty good. But I do think the disadvantage of not being on the faster side, the 4.5140, and then not being super physical in the NFL, faster, more physical corners can kind of maybe erase him a bit. I'm a little bit worried at that. And he only really ran routes on the right side of the field. Like if you look at his route chart, it's like beet red over here, and then like 3/4 of it is just completely blue, which is fine, like because he ran routes at every level. He went deep, he went short, he went in the medium. So I know he can do it. It's just kind of weird to only watch him on kind of like one side of the field, really. But bro, guys like Maryland are going to be seeing Rashee Rice in their nightmares. He dropped 11 catches for 193 yards on him this season.
Wow.
And to me, that game kind of highlights what I'm talking about with Rice, like making up for the fact that he doesn't have top end speed with his crazy acceleration. If the play stops at any point, and I mean like a jump ball where the defenders go for it while Rice goes for it, and then they all hit the ground at the same time, Rice is gone, and he makes up for that lack of speed by being able to accelerate and just burst out of that area, and it makes the defenders have to like catch back up to him. Now, they do eventually catch him because he doesn't have that top end speed, but he's able to use that burst and that acceleration to pick up extra yards, and it gives him pretty interesting chances to break away. And if he gets into open space, he has really, really good body control and can kind of like make people miss tackles and get even more yards. He had 19 missed tackles, forced missed tackles this year. I think he can be a highly productive NFL player. And if you guys heard me talk about him a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago, whenever that was, I made a big deal out of his age. And I don't know if I just had it wrong then or if it was somehow corrected in the process, because I thought he was almost 24 and he's 23. So not a big jump, but like it kind of, he's not even the oldest receiver in this class anymore. Really, my biggest concern with him is that, like, if he goes up against some of the stronger corners in the league, I think there's a chance he gets erased. Just because he's not fast enough to be able to kind of separate from them, and if they're just good at kind of maintaining their coverage, I think he may have some separation issues. Like, I just imagine a situation of like him against, I don't know, this is ridiculous, but like him against Sauce Gardner ain't no chance. You know what I mean? In my opinion. So that's where I'm worried about, but man, he has some really, really fun traits, and I'm really, really excited to see where he lands.
Yeah, I am too. I liked him as well. I I watched a little bit of the film and kind of dug, and I couldn't really find anything that really jumped out at me because I felt like he was playing like against like 3/4 speed. You know what I mean? In the American Conference. Yeah. And I didn't want to hold it against him because he was out there looking great, man. All the stuff you're saying, but I'm like, damn it, I want to see him doing this at like, that's fair. At Power 5 speed. But he's definitely, I mean, he's a solid ass guy. I was the other week just talking about target share, and he's in the 96th percentile in the college target share. So, it was going to him, and he couldn't be stopped, and that's some promising action right there, man. So, all right, well, I will get into my first matchup. It's number 5, tight end Luke Musgraves of the Oregon State Beavers against the Chase Brown running back Fighting Illini, Illinois. And the winner is Chase Brown.
Let's go.
Fighting Illini, Illinois. So let's talk about them Beavers. Luke Musgraves. Man, I know we were just talking about like Zach Kuntz the other day, where it's like a projection of traits and the production and man, I gotta tell you, this guy Musgraves is 22 years old, 22 and a half currently, and he's tall, similar 6'6", 253, and man, he still just didn't have the production. There was a big injury, right? He only played 2 games in 2022, but he managed to get healthy for the combine. He put down a 4.61 40, and he actually had the fastest 10-yard split of the tight end class. And you can really see that on tape for sure. But that gave him a 93rd percentile speed score. His burst score was 87th percentile. And that makes sense because he was in the top 5 at like all the testing metrics he participated in. So, very athletic guy, great size, tall, lengthy, and 22 and a half is probably fine for a tight end. But yeah, man, he was like, I don't know, he was a very energetic player to watch on the field, and it was a lot of fun. But you won't really find too much excitement if you're going to look for a deep dive on him. But let me just get into it. The reason that I'm excited about him is that he was true to his role, like true to the play that was called. Like he was a different guy for every play he had to block. He was a serious blocker. He has a great first step, engages well, works blocks, and has a high level of commitment to the play. It didn't always the commitment level didn't always reflect the blocking quality, but like he was getting after it as a blocker. And just the same when he was running a route, he was crazy getting after it. Serious release off the line of scrimmage. I told you he had the best 10-yard split in the tight end class, and you could see it. I mean, he is fast as hell at the line, just shoots off in the secondary. He's quick, great at securing the ball, and he's a very powerful runner. He's the kind of, it's the same thing you always say, right? A good sized tight end will bully a corner, and a fast tight end will embarrass a linebacker. And he's just got that combination, that size speed that you're looking for. But the thing with him is we're really basing this off of 3 games of high level involvement. I'll tell you, he only had 4 games where he had at least 4 receptions or 50 yards. And those were 4 games where he had both 4 receptions and 50 yards, and no other game where he had 4 catches or 50 yards. So it is really just him being used as a tight end in the passing game a handful of times. So if you go through each year, 4 years with Oregon State, he was on the field all 4 years. 2 games as a freshman, only 2 catches. 6 games as a sophomore, only 12 catches. And then his 3rd year, and this is what kind of surprised me, he was on the field for a total of 10 games, but he only had 22 catches, and he was being outcompeted by a guy named Tegan Quinarino. Heard that name before? 5th round tight end, went to the Houston Texans.
He directed
yeah, Tarantino.
Yeah,
Pulp Fiction. So it's not strong competition, but it managed to keep him pretty far down. He did have one of his 3 breakout performances in the 12th game of the year. It was his 9th game, just so everyone knows. That was against Oregon. It was 7 catches, 85 yards, and he scored the first of his 2 collegiate touchdowns. So that's great. Anyway, he hit the ground running in 2022, man. He looked like a new guy. He was extremely productive in his first 2 outings, and really looked awesome. Like, I got pretty pumped about him. So I don't know. Hit me with your sample size bias. That's okay. But like I mentioned, he's definitely a determined player, and it was on full display in the game against Fresno State, man. They were in a tight game, and it was going down the 4th quarter, and he threw like an incredible block downfield like 10 seconds after the ball had been snapped. Like he was determined to follow through on the play, threw a late block that allowed a guy to score, and it kept them in the game. And it was pretty cool. And then on the next drive, he had a 28-yard catch. It was a big catch that gave them the first down they needed to ultimately win that game, and with only 15 seconds left. And in that last 15 seconds, he injured his knee, and that was the last catch he caught for his college career. So
Yeah.
it's just hard to project too hard based off of the production, but people are drooling over him. It's because of speed. It's because of the athleticism. And I've watched everything that was worth watching on him, and it was awesome. It was incredible. Very quick release, very, very good with his route running, very active as a player. I don't know exactly how to describe it, but he looked like he was on another level compared to the other people on the field in these first two games in 2022. So I'm pretty pumped about him, but damn, it's hard to, when you can't draw it back to the film, it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, he's definitely another traits projection guy, like you highlighted, not a ton of college production, but like when he pops and people get excited and somebody's gonna bite on it. It's gonna depend on where he goes, and it's gonna depend on how you feel about that. But I'm a Musgrave fan. I'll be excited pretty much wherever he lands. I don't know that I'm going to try to go and get him. Like, he's PFF's third ranked tight end, but also on their PowerPoint thing, they have a bunch of stats that don't line up with his stats. So they may need to look into that. Doesn't make a lot of sense over there. But like, people are going to be really in on him, like you're saying. So like, I love his potential. I don't know that I'm going to want to spend the draft capital that it takes to get him necessarily, though, because I think he's got a lot of name value. And if he's going in the like early second with like Mayer and Kincaid and Washington, I don't think personally I'd be willing to pay that for him.
No, I don't think so either, man.
Yeah. Like, I like him. I do. But like, it's just such a risk with, like you're saying, so little production to kind of hang your hat on. It's hard to like do that and then be like, oh yeah, I'm going to take him over a guy like Michael Mayer who had like 1,000 yards every season. Like, it doesn't make sense. But I do like
wrong,
him.
But
Yeah,
like
100%.
you're saying, I'd rather be wrong on passing
exactly.
than wrong on buying in.
Now, if he's around in the third round, okay, I'll take a chance on him there possibly, or in deeper leagues even longer, but I just don't see that happening. But anyway, let's move on to our next matchup. We got a running back matchup, or a running back wide receiver matchup, excuse me. The number 7 seed running back Roschon Johnson out of Texas, and the number 2 seed wide receiver Zay Flowers out of Boston College. Correct?
Yeah.
Yes, that is correct. I like him a lot. I don't know why that's not locked in my brain. Anyway, I'm taking Flowers here. I think he's a really good receiver, and I'm gonna take him over Roschon Johnson.
I'm with you on that.
All right, cool. So Roschon, though, man, he is a player. Running back out of Texas, 6 foot tall, 219 pounds, 22 years old, basically 22.1. 93 carries, 554 yards, 6 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns. If you don't know who Roschon Johnson is and you're not connecting the dots and you're like, oh, those aren't a lot of stats. Well, yeah, it's because he was Bijan Robinson's backup. But he is highly efficient given the limited amount of usage he had. Popping off 6 yards per carry and when you're only getting 93 carries is really, really, really good. It's just, average to below average combine metrics are a little scary. 4.58 on the 53rd percentile there, 64th percentile speed, 30 percentile burst. So, we're not anywhere crazy there, but it's not bad either. It's actually similar numbers to Josh Jacobs, who just crushed the league this past season. So it's not a death sentence necessarily. And Roschon has some really, really strong traits. Like I said, highly efficient and limited usage. He's got grace size, 219 pounds and 6 foot tall, and he's got really quick feet movement for being so tall. Like he really can make a little pattern with his feet that can kind of trip up the defenders. I think he's a really strong blocker. He's a physical runner. He's hard to bring down. And like I said, with those feet, he's shiftier than you would give him credit for. And I think he has a really, really good stiff arm. The problem is he kind of profiles as like a 3-down back. And he wasn't in college. Granted, Bijan Robinson's there. It's hard to judge that too harshly. But B, he's pretty weak in the receiving game. 5 drops on 61 targets in his college career. That's 8%. It's not terrible, but like dropping 8% of your passes when you're only getting 61 through the course of 3 years or 3 or 4 years is not. It's not going to get it done, you know. And the juxtaposition between like how smooth and natural he looks in the running game and how kind of like awkward and weird he looks in the receiving game is crazy. Because I really do think, man, he is a smart player. He is such a he has really good vision. He hits the hole well. He knows how to get the yardage. But then you throw him in the receiving game, and even when he does well, like against West Virginia, he had this wide open pass. Could have gone for like a 50, 60-yard gain, and he caught it and then just kind of stumbled and fell down, which is, you know, fine. It happens. It is what it is. And then immediately, like 3 or 4 plays later, he gets another pass thrown to him. And it's like, admittedly to him, both these passes were fairly low. But then he tried to like stumble and catch it low to the ground and didn't catch this one and then just fell down. And it's striking to see somebody look so natural and then look like he doesn't know what to do with his hands when he's trying to catch the ball. So it's interesting, but he is fairly young. 22 is not crazy old for a running back. And if he can get to a place where like develops that receiving game out of him, he's got the traits to be a really good runner. Possibly there's going to be a problem, though, because he's already been in kind of the power back complementary role his entire year in college. So or his entire college career. So like a team could kind of see him as that. And I do think his value kind of plummets if he goes to a place where he's very clearly supposed to be the complementary guy there. Now, if it's an older running back that he's supposed to complement, doesn't hurt him as much because you could see him kind of taking over, taking the proverbial torch from the older guy. But if he ends up in a place where it seems like it's a 3-down guy and he's just supposed to be the other guy there, it's going to plummet. And he's already kind of shown that he's had success in that role. So it's not hard to imagine a team would kind of pick him for that. But he's so solid, man. Like I could really see him ending up as a 3-down player in the NFL. I just think there are several kind of roadblock hurdles that he has to get through that some of these other running backs I don't think have to deal with as much.
Yeah, man, I don't know. I didn't expect to like him. I feel like I watched his tape and was a little out on him ish. And then I rewatched a little bit, just getting ready for this conversation, and gosh, I really liked it, man. It was nice. It's the fact that like this past year it's almost like 75% of his yards were after contact, and his elusive rating. Did you see his elusive rating on PFF? It's like 198. So I don't know how high the number goes, but that's the highest one in this class. So just that kind of stuff. And then watching him, like you're saying, as a runner, very smooth, clunky in the passing game, but that could be fixed, man. It just, it got me a little excited about him. So, you know, obviously he loses this matchup, but, you know, he may rise to fight another matchup here in the future, you know? So,
not how a tournament works at all.
Hey, there's consolation brackets, man. Double elimination.
Brackets?
Hey, we can do whatever
this is
we
our
want to.
tournament.
That's
it works
right,
how
man.
we fucking say.
All right. And by surprise, the bye week breaks into the Sweet 16.
The bye week again. All right.
Pushing
Well,
in funny
getting
in the
into our last matchup. No bye weeks this time. We've got number 6, Cedric Tillman, wide receiver, Tennessee, up against Israel Abanikanda. Number 3, running back, Pittsburgh, And the eyes have it. Israel Abanikanda advances, and now
Yeah.
Cedric Tillman gets played off into the night. If you agree with me, that is.
Yeah, I do. This one was much closer than I kind of thought it would be going into this matchup. But I'll let you take it away and we can kind of get into that later.
Okay. Yeah, it's definitely close. Well, I'd love to hear about it later from you. So stay tuned, everybody. Wait through me talking to hear him talking. It's going to be great. So Tillman is, like we said, he's a volunteer out of Tennessee, put in 5 years with them. And he's 23 here for the NFL draft. And yeah, he has a breakout age of 21 and a half, which is pretty old for a guy for me to be this excited about, honestly. But the things that do get me excited are his size, right? 6'3", 213 pounds, and not too bad for the speed and burst. He's 79th percentile on both, and that is coming out from a 4.54 40 time. Now, maybe his 40 time could have been better if he hadn't been injured in 2022. I don't know. It's speculation. But he enjoyed playing on an electric Tennessee team that was number 1 in yards per game this last year. But since he pretty much wasn't there for most of the year, he only had 6 games, we're going to dig into the archives. We're going to go back to 2021 when they were only the 3rd most productive yardage per game in the SEC. Meanwhile, Tillman was the 6th most productive SEC wide receiver. And some of the other guys ahead of him are now in the NFL doing pretty well. So don't worry about those guys. But it was a damn shame that Tillman had to have surgery on his ankle in 2022 because I'm telling you guys, if he had played a full season this last year, I think he would be cracking top three in this class. Just the things that he did in 2021 were incredible. Amongst them, he had nearly 1,100 receiving yards and 12 touchdowns. And he was off to a really good start. In 2022, he played 6 games and had 417 yards and 3 touchdowns. But the beginning of the year, he was right in step with where he had left off. So it was fun because I like watching bigger guys play, bigger physical wide receivers. And he made me very happy because the way that he uses physicality, he used it, through coverage, press coverage. He used it to get open. He used it to high point. And it was everything you want to see. I've talked about him before on the podcast, and he has good speed. He's got good run after the catch, great high pointing at the catch point. And his ability to track the ball is some of the most impressive I've seen in this class. He has a lot of screen plays where he just catches the screen pass and takes it for a couple 10 yards. So that's another physical kind of quick speed thing that you're looking for his style of wide receiver, just kind of a bigger guy that can make things happen with the ball in his hand. I really enjoyed watching the 2022 film against Georgia. He played up against Keely Ringo. He's the cornerback for Georgia. And in that game, he managed 7 catches for 68 yards, which is not like a monumental game, but it was like extremely tough physical coverage that he had to play against, a guy who's going to be playing at the next level, an athletic corner. And it was cool just to watch his approach to being not really outmatched, but almost like equally matched. And coming out of that game with 7 catches, I think was a win for him. So the routes look good. I think he has room to grow in that department, but he does a lot of good in breaking routes and across the middle stops and comebacks and that kind of stuff. Just the kind of things that that I think work for big guys that can do things with the ball in their hands. He played on the outside pretty much exclusively. And he wasn't the fastest guy. I think his 40 time was a little hindered by the ankle injury. I think he does play faster than a 4.54. But the thing with him is like he has built speed. Like his speed builds over, the course of his route. So he has good game speed, but not like good track speed, if that makes sense. So I think that you can't read too much into that 40 time as a knock on him, because he really does have the ability to be a vertical threat or get clean open because he creates separation just with his footwork and kind of some nuanced things that he does. Yeah, I don't know, man. I've talked about this guy enough to where I'm like, what do I say? He only had 5 drops over 100 targets according to PFF. Like, he takes care of the ball. He's physical. He can just pull the ball down. Like that's the whole thing. If you can get open, and if you can't, if you're not going to get bullied by a corner, and you can catch the ball, like what the hell else are we talking about? You know what I mean? Like get open, bring the ball down, do something with it. I'm all about this guy, man. I think he's going to be moving up the fantasy draft boards after we see how serious the NFL is about him. I think he's one of those guys where, because he missed the time or because of the injury, we're all just kind of left to speculate until the NFL tells us how they feel about him. So I think he's going to go up pretty hard here.
Yeah. And that was kind of what I was alluding to at the beginning, is like the draft stock on him is rising already. I mean, I've seen him ranked as high as the 3rd, like you were saying, literally seen him ranked as high as the 3rd wide receiver in front of Quentin Johnston, right behind Jordan Addison and JSN. So like Perfect. People are really, really high on him. And I get it, man. Like to me, he's the most physical receiver in this class, and he uses it way better than anybody could. Like somebody like Quentin Johnston is like, you want him to use his type of body and physicality the way Cedric Tillman does, and he just doesn't. And so like this is this unique skill set that Tillman has that no one else really in this class has, and I think a lot of teams are really going to like it. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but somebody like Green Bay would love this guy with his physical blocking style. And like, there's a lot of offenses that are run that way. They want blocking receivers outside. Somebody like the Jets would be another example. Like, this guy is really, really good at that. But he also is just going to be very, very consistent. Like you highlighted, the 5 drops, it's a really good drop rate over the course of his career and season. And just like, I think he's such like a solid, strong player. He's going to demand to be a number 2 in an NFL offense at the very least. And I think he could be like a stronger end number 2 when it's all said and done. I think the more I watch this guy, the more I like him. And I really do think he's going to start shooting upwards. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah, we got to start having our drafts in February before everyone else figures out the shit I've known the whole time. Come on now. Cedric Tillman to the moon.
Yeah, he's good, man.
Yep, so Cedric Tillman to the moon. And he loses in the round of 32.
I mean, Israel Abanikanda, we'll get there.
That's true. But let's review, man. So we had Bryce Young and Rashee Rice. Bryce Young moves on. Luke Musgraves tied in versus Chase Brown. Chase Brown moves on. Sets the stage for a Bryce Young-Chase Brown matchup. Pretty exciting. Then we had Cedric Tillman versus Israel Abanikanda. Israel Abanikanda moves on. And Roschon Johnson versus Zay Flowers. And honestly, Israel Abanikanda versus Zay Flowers sounds pretty fun. Pretty fun matchup.
That's going to be a good one.
I think the whole Sweet 16 is going to be pretty awesome, man.
Yeah.
Straight up pumped.
Very excited. And we'll get into that Sweet 16 next week, baby.
It's going to be sweet. Come back on the 16th. No, I'm just kidding. That's not true.
Shoot. But all right. Well, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll be here next week, the Sweet 16, and on to the championship.
Yep.
Let's go.
Make it happen. Sounds nice.
Gotta do it twice?
Yeah, I was going to make it twice. It's nice. It's memorable, guys. Rashee Rice joke.
But there was.
I appreciate it. The spirit.
Peace.